Hello and welcome to Two Girls in a Pod. I'm Sharon.
I'm Christy.
So happy to be back. We took a little bit of a week off for the holidays and I hope everybody had a great holiday. I think we did. It's really quiet.
It was really quiet. We did have a friend come and visit, so that was really nice. But it was a pretty quiet holiday.
It's funny how many people have told me that they just had quiet holidays. And I think maybe it's a time of reset and I don't know, but it was good for us.
Mm-hmm.
But, we were talking the other day, and one of the things we talked about is, we were talking about success, and we were talking about, and it's success on every level. It's not business. It was even whether it's our house or whatever. And you made the comment, it's like ebb and flow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we do that as human beings. It's natural. But it's amazing to me, like I was saying to you that day, was that how sometimes you can be so positive and feel so energized and just feel like you're really killing it.
On top of the world.
Yeah. And then like the next day, something feels off, or that you're not in that positive mindset for whatever reason. And sometimes that place that your mind can go to can be so far from where you were the day before. I mean, it amazes me because you think about when you're trying to create new habits and stuff like that and create a new positive mindset. You think that once you get to a certain place, you're just there and you stay there, but that's not how it works.
No, and I think that's a good point because I think people think, if I reach that pinnacle, that it stays. But, one of the things is life happens.
Mm-hmm.
We are having life happen around us all the time that kind of changes that.
Yeah. But what throws me off too is even when it's not an event,
well,
how far negative the mind can go in one space of time.
That was the next point, though, is that the thing that gets in the way of us 90% of the time or more is our own thought process.
Yeah.
It's what we start thinking up here, and we don't even realize that we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people sit there and say, oh, I think today I'm going to be negative. I don't think that.
No.
But I think, it's those little thoughts that just kind of come in. They just kind of whiz in and whiz out. We're not attaching to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happens is it's just enough that we have the feeling,
Yeah.
And then when we have that feeling, we go from I'm on top of the world to, dang, this is shitty kind of mentality.
Yeah. And I would think that, after you've been practicing that positive mindset for so long, it just seems like that how could you go so far into the depths of, just doubting or whatever it is?
Well, I think the other thing is that, it's kind of like I talk with my clients, as I said, I always look when we're doing therapy, even what we're looking at is the intensity, frequency, and duration of something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So people will sit there and say, I still am getting that. Yes. But did it feel as intense? Did it last as long? Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think then you start to realize is even when you go into those moments, it's paying attention to the fact like, oh yeah, it did happen, but I did realize I was there. I didn't give as much focus and then I moved on.
Yeah.
But what happens is when we don't look at that, by nature, I think people, or I don't even know if it's by nature, if it's a creation, then we start sitting there thinking everything's negative. Then we go to that place of, oh my God, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. All of those things that get in the way of us moving forward.
Right.
Even though, once again, oh yeah, I noticed I did kind of go to that place, but before it would have been half a day to get out of it.
Yeah.
Now, I was there for an hour or whatever. That is still what we call progress. It's still forward motion. And when we are able to identify it and then move on from it, we are being more proactive even in what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's a struggle.
Yeah, because you still feel encumbered by those feelings sometimes, but you're right. If you can identify that and realize that, yeah, maybe it's not lasting as long or you're not staying so tied to that emotional piece of it that you can't get out of it for a week or whatever it is.
Well, and I think that's that ebb and flow you were talking about.
Mhm.
I think that realizing that life is an ebb and flow because we're not stagnant. We
Right.
don't stay stationary. And so, it's like some days we have so many creative thoughts and
Mhm.
we're just boom, 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 bouncing them off and doing it. And then some days it's like, what's going on up there?
Well, I think that it's a really cool thing having all of those creative ideas and stuff, but we've even talked about how sometimes we get so many ideas or that it becomes overwhelming and we're like, "Oh my God, where do we start?"
And I just was talking to a client about that. And it's like, when you get in that creative process, it's like you're bombarded with these things. And then you're like, oh, this sounds really good. But if I do, and we even said we were going to start doing this, is we're going to write these down because unfortunately, because we get so many coming in, that, that really great idea, we lose because of all those other 50 ideas that came in and kind of blocked it.
Mhm.
So it's like, even that helps with that, helps us to stay focused because then we get discouraged because we don't remember that really great idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so good. And now I don't remember it. So then that starts that ebb and flow process again, I think,
Mhm.
So I think it's a lot of those things that we can change up just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and getting an idea about how to organize and definitely, like you say, writing down. I think that has been a huge thing for us. We have really worked on that. If we have something in the moment that we're talking about, yeah, definitely make a note about it because you forget it. And then later on that becomes a frustration. And one of the things that I know that we talked about in just dealing with that whole ebb and flow is being proactive in whatever it is that you're doing. When you're planning ahead and you're putting it down and you're coming up with a plan, how much better that helps you, in the long run.
Well, and I think too, because we live at a time when we're so bombarded, we have so much input.
Mhm.
It's like constantly input from whether it's, 15 people talking to you, you're trying to multitask and do all these things that we're not as present
Right.
and in not being present. And even though when we're having those conversations, we're present in that moment, but we're not present with the thoughts or with the ideas.
Mhm.
So they're kind of coming and going very quickly. So that proactive piece is to write it down, to make a plan around it. Then it feels less cumbersome, as you said,
Yeah.
or I think anyway.
Mhm.
And I mean, this is what's kind of cool. I think even for me with doing a podcast and stuff is because when you start out podcasting, nobody's born a podcaster.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It really is that thing of we sit there and we experiment with things, we learn things, some stuff is not as good as other things or whatever. But the thing is that when we get to that place, it's that extreme thinking. Oh, well, that one just wasn't good. We're not going to do any more, where we don't have this many follow, whatever it is. People start to go to that almost fatalistic place of, well, it's just not working. I'm just not going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And I say, no, we just keep practicing it. We practice it, we practice it, and we practice it
Mhm.
until you get really good at it.
Yeah.
But even when we get really good at it, we're still going to ebb and flow.
Exactly.
That's life.
Yeah. And I think that's what people have to realize because you're going to have off days. And it's okay that those happen and you just like you said identify, and realize that the longer you hang on to it, the more you stay stuck.
Well, and I think the other thing, and we've talked about this, is that sometimes I think when we're doing stuff, we forget the why.
Exactly.
We forget, why am I doing this? What is it providing for me? What is my end goal? And why is that goal important?
Mhm. That's when it's really important to look at the end goal piece of it. There's all these little things that have to happen, and that's where the proactive part comes in to reach that end goal. But focusing on that why is important too. Remembering why you're doing the little steps that you're doing. And in fact, one of the other podcasts that we like to listen to, Yo Quiero Dinero, she had one on side hustles, and she talked about that. The remembering your why. Why are you doing this?
Also, You're a Badass.
by Jensen Sand.
Same thing. Why? Why? Oh, I want to have money. Why? What are you using it for?
Mhm.
I tell people, people say, well, I want to have a savings. Well, what are you saving for? Because pretty soon the savings becomes almost a chore
Yeah.
and there's no gratification for it.
Right. I think you have to be really clear with what your intention is and why you want it. Otherwise, it's not important to you. It's, you lose focus.
And I think that's what happens is sometimes people get so caught up in the process of it that they forget why they're doing the process. So then it's like that. And I think that might be where that becomes more cumbersome. It's like, oh my God, I got to go do this. But why? But if you remember the why, then there's joy in doing it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that I feel like that's something that we've had with the podcast. I feel like the why has been there.
Mhm.
I feel like we do this because there's a lot of knowledge base and there's lots of stories to be told.
Yeah.
And sometimes, one of those stories we have on here or our story may resonate with somebody and they may say, oh my gosh, yes, that works for me. And that light goes on and they're then able to continue on that journey. It's all about the journey of all these people,
Mhm.
and in our journey and how, once again, nobody's born a podcaster. This is something we're really working on to figure out how do you do these things better. But it doesn't matter. It's not just this, it's everything we do.
Right.
I want this relationship, but why? What does it bring to you? What do you bring to the relationship? All of those things. We stop looking at what's the value of what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I think that causes us to have that ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And then we go from that, I'm on top of the world, to why am I doing this? We forget.
Mhm.
And I think, that's something we've gotten better at is we have those conversations where we remind ourselves the whys of it. But the thing is, that's really cool is in doing that and having those conversations, we find more whys.
Mhm.
What is this going to provide? What is this going to do for us? How is this going to enhance our lives?
And what does it do for someone else? Because that's a huge thing for us. I feel like is, it is a way of paying it forward because it hopefully, the information is valuable and reaches more ears. We can become focused on the amount of followers that we have or that kind of thing. But what I really hope is that the stories that we tell resonate with people and that it shows them that, even the things that some of these people have faced, the adversities that they have faced, what kind of things they did and how they overcame it and talking to them about that, I'm really hoping that others will see the value in that and that it will somehow help them, inspire them to keep going.
And I think, it was really interesting because sometimes it's what we say, but, we had Linda on a couple of weeks ago. And when just seeing that person and seeing how they had transformed themselves was like, oh my God, I want to do this.
Right.
So it was that woman's journey that helped her on her journey. And do you see what I mean? It's that thing of making those connections and using the stuff that we see to motivate us.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard that episode with Linda Baird, it's she's a personal fitness coach through Beachbody. Check it out.
Yeah, and just overcoming the adversity and what that was like for her and why we do the things we do. Once again, she had to know the why. Why do I not want to be in this place any longer?
Yeah, why she started her journey to begin with of fitness.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really the important thing of it. And I'm so grateful we've had so many guests on who I feel like really have these amazing, amazing stories to tell and just hopefully resonates. We're super excited. We had Raquel Pennington on, Raquel Rocky Pennington. She's getting ready to fight for the bantamweight title in UFC.
Yeah.
So super excited about that. But that journey for her, even through the adversity of breaking her back, having a leg injury, all of these things, but she keeps the focus of the why.
Yeah,
I want to be a champion.
exactly. Yeah.
She's a role model. Those kind of things. You can also check out that podcast as well, and it's on YouTube. But those are the things, any of those stories that resonate,
Yeah. And check out the video cast because you got to see that kitty
Oh my goodness.
baby.
Their baby is so adorable.
Yes.
Just adorable and happy. She is one of the happiest babies I've ever seen, man.
Yes. So Adventures of Two Girls in a Pod on YouTube. Check it out.
Yeah. So those are the things though. We didn't, once again, modifying, change what you have to change. But sometimes I think people get very stuck too. And they say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my goal. And these are the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take the steps and it's not quite working the way they want.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to change the steps.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily change the goal, but you may change how you get to the goal.
Right.
But once again, and we talk about that too, that thing of extreme thinking of if it didn't work, then I'm just not going to do it.
Mm.
Then now I got to try something totally different. No.
Right.
That's how much do we invest in it? Why is it important to us?
Yes.
And oftentimes, when therapy is a huge place that we see this. Maybe you should try this week. I tried it, it didn't work. So we're just going to not do it again. Or I tried it, only worked once. It is consistency. And we talk so much about the importance of consistency.
Yeah.
Why is it important to be consistent and to practice?
Mm-hmm. Because you're going to have those days where you ebb and flow.
Exactly. And the good thing is when you practice and you kind of build up, I think, then when you have that place of ebb and flow and you kind of go to that other place, you still, there's that part of us, I think, that still realizes, but you know what? Things are still going well. This maybe is just about me. I don't know. But I think it's interesting that we do that. We play those head games with ourselves for so many different reasons.
Well, and I think one of the things that really helps with the flow part of it is those that you network with, the people that support you, or even the people that are on the same kind of journey. They have knowledge about how to do things, and if you can surround yourself with the people that are going to help motivate you and help show you how to, do something that is in line with your goals, that is really going to help you.
We are so amazingly fortunate because we have people in our life that are like that. Our friend Sandra, oh my goodness, she is so on top of everything that we're doing. She's so invested in that and so appreciative of it.
Yeah.
And she's kind of quiet. So when we asked her to do a podcast on books and reading books and stuff like that, it was like, but she did it.
She did,
and we totally appreciate it because that's her journey, her books, but everybody has those. But you're right, the networking, and we, not just Sandra, we have an amazing, there's Tammy, there's all of our friends, Kathy, Sylvia, Heather, Michael. I mean, we just have this amazing group of friends and our families also who really help support that. And that's what's important. Is those people that resonate and that support for you. And then stepping outside your box to get those other people, and network beyond that.
Exactly. When you reach out to other people, they know people. And sometimes, you need that kind of information. It doesn't, you don't know who they know, and making those connections, sometimes you make those meaningful connections, and it helps you in your goals.
Exactly. And I think the thing is I think sometimes maybe where things get weird or complicated is when ego gets involved.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want this person's help because they might be better than you, or you don't want to do this because of no, which I thought was really great because our friend Renee, also very supportive, when she called and said, I want to do a podcast around my blindness. And we're like, oh my God, yes, let's help you get this set up. And that's what we did. We're not in competition.
Right. We wanted her,
to be successful.
To be successful. So we shared any information that we could with her about how to get started. And
was very fortunate. We had her on Visions of a Blind Woman, and then she had us on her podcast. And that's that thing. That is what helps us to remember the why.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that those relationships that help us to get there, So when we're looking at those goals, there's so many things that go into being successful on any level,
Mhm.
on any level. And oftentimes people will sit there, well, I'm a self-made no, there is always contributions along the way from the time we are little, whether it's a teacher, your parents, your grandparents, the neighbor, the store owner. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Our relationships play a role for sure.
Absolutely. And realizing that helps us, I feel, get to those goals even faster. And I think sometimes even in that ebb and flow, because sometimes when we get stuck, sometimes it's helpful to go talk to somebody.
Well, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? Use those resources. We tend to do it with each other,
Right.
but man, it sucks if you're both down at the same time.
Yeah.
Let's just get some ice cream and watch some sad movies or something. I don't know. We don't do that, but people tend to do that. What they do is they feed that negative energy.
Yeah, and you don't want to go, hang out with the Debbie Downers that are gonna just drag you down further. That's not gonna help you out. You need that kind of uplifting, relationships in your life that can
Those
help
go-to
support
friends.
you. Yes.
Those go-to relationships that that when you're down, they're like, yeah, okay. Give you a little bit of a kick in the butt, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't what I expected. But yeah, I'm on my path once again. And absolutely, I agree. I think that really utilizing our support systems,
Yeah.
utilizing people with knowledge,
Exactly.
go to those people with the knowledge, learn from them.
And those people that are going to mentor you in that way,
Absolutely.
that are going to tell you when you've had a setback, you know what did you learn from it? This is what you do going forward. You look at that and realize what you can take away from it.
Absolutely. And I think that that's kind of the cool thing. And I mean, we are getting more into listening to a lot of different podcasts that are doing some different stuff, but we read a lot. We read books that also are about helping us to learn to navigate things. And that's the whole thing. There are so many resources out there, so many resources. But I do think sometimes when we go into that slump, it's hard to remember there are the resources.
Yeah.
So I always say, just be kind to yourself, show yourself a little bit of grace,
Hopefully you're a person that likes to read. I know that works for me. Like when I'm having a moment and I just feel like I'm not, on point, I really feel like that sometimes if I'll go and read something, especially that has to do with gratitude, because I really feel like that gratitude is a way of pulling yourself back into that positive mindset.
There's research on it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that, gratitude is not magical thinking. When we talk about gratitude, it reminds us of what we already have. And if we have this, we can have more.
When you're reminded of what is working,
exactly,
you are able to, I feel like, better look at a situation and have critical thinking and come up with solutions and all of that, because you're in that positive mindset, because you're grateful for the things that are working.
Exactly. And I don't think that people realize just how vitally important it is to our lives. Because once again, that's that thing when you get into that slump, once again, the negative starts coming in. I didn't do this right. I should have done this. I should have meet this deadline, whatever it is. Instead of, oh my gosh, I got this accomplished. I'm so grateful for everything I've done. Because time, when we look at time management and stuff like that, it's another thing that, we look at that. How does that time management work against us? And I'm telling people, procrastinators, had this conversation this week with clients about procrastination. And procrastination is our way of convincing ourselves not to do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think you really do then also have to go back to your why. Why are you doing this in the first place? I mean, if this is something you're doing begrudgingly, are you on the right path? Maybe you should look at that.
And I think sometimes the reason people procrastinate and they don't even realize is because they're having too many thoughts.
Yeah, that's what
Too many, it can even be positive. It can be too many ideas.
Yes.
So then it's like, I don't know where to start. Where do I start? Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's so much.
We've been there.
Yes, we have, in fact. But it can feel chaotic and it can feel like, oh, well, I can't start because I don't really have all my thoughts in order, or I don't have all this, or I don't have all that.
Mhm.
But procrastination is not proactive.
No. And when you find yourself in that place, I think then you are sometimes acting out of a space of desperation. You're being reactive to things and it's not helpful.
Absolutely. And, we talk, there's this reactive thing that we do. And then I think that when we do that, the person will say, well, it didn't turn out too bad. But imagine what it would have turned out if you hadn't procrastinated.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? We use those justifying statements.
Mhm.
And I just think it's interesting when we do that. And it's like procrastination. And I mean, I think that all of us at some point probably have procrastinated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I got an A on that paper and I procrastinated. You got lucky. No,
Yeah.
but things formulate or whatever. But I think, procrastination is one of those things, once again, that we get into that reactive place and then we do things out of desperation. We make decisions out of desperation. It's like, oh my goodness, I was supposed to have this or that. And then it's like you're scrambling to try to figure out how to either extend that time out or how to cram a lot of stuff into a short period of time.
Mhm. And when
So,
you're rushed, sometimes you don't always make the best decisions.
and that's why I tell it's just write it down. And when she said her phone, I'm sure I don't she's probably gonna use all of her memory just on all of the notes that she takes for our podcast and our business.
Yeah.
But it's important because then when you don't have that, we don't have the recall we used to. And it's not because people's memories are getting worse. It's because we're ingesting more information.
Mhm. We're inundated with all
The
the
Lord is.
information that we have coming at us all the time and the things that we have to remember and the things that we're doing. It can be overwhelming. And then, you forget
Oh
things.
my goodness. When I used to work I did mental health at schools, and I would leave my office and I was on a mission. So I had to go to the other school, the other elementary, whatever. But I had to go through these hallways and I would have, whether it was students or teachers or, talking to me, telling me they need. And I remember in my head, I was like, okay, where am I going? Where am I going? And all of this. And then I would get there and I would think, I know they said stuff. What was it they said? And was it important? Because my thing was it's hard to be present to all of the noise.
Yeah.
Okay. And not that what they're saying is not relevant and valuable, but I think that's what's happening. We are just having this influx of information and of things like that. That's one of the reasons I love being a therapist, because when I'm in my office,
Mhm.
the only thing that exists is the person in front of me.
Right.
Everything else is quiet.
Yeah.
It's so important for me to be so present. And so for me, everything in my head slows down,
Yeah.
which I think is a nice thing.
Mhm.
It's very comforting, but I think that's what it is. And that's the other thing we talk about. And this is so important, is to be present. Because once again, when we're having all those ideas coming in, we're not present because we can't be present with all of them. That's why when you write them down, then you can be present. Okay, this idea, be present with it.
Yeah.
How is it going to play out?
It helps you to go back and explore it later. Maybe it's just a word. Maybe it's just something you hear that makes you, think of something. If you just write down, a couple key words or whatever, and then you can go back and revisit that and expand on the ideas around it. It helps you so much.
We're learning to use our Google Calendar. Chrissy's old school in some ways because she still has her appointment book. She handwrites everything.
I like to write.
If it's what you like, come on now, do it. But I'll
I
tell
use
her.
my phone too.
Yes, but we're learning to use that more because sometimes they're like, what do we have to do? I don't know. If it's not, I said, put it in our calendar. But now I have to remember to look at the guest.
No, yeah. See, it's not just me not putting it in. You're not looking at it.
Well, it was funny because when our friend Sandra came, we made reservations to eat at the Rabbit Hole.
Mhm.
And y'all, if you have not eaten at the Rabbit Hole, you Have to.
Rabbit Hole, downtown, Colorado Springs.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
I'm telling you, the food and drink is amazing, but their moon pie is delicious.
Yeah.
So that's what we were really going for, was the moon pie. But we figured might as well have dinner too. But no, the Rabbit Hole, fantastic. We make the reservation, and in Christy puts it on the calendar, but we were doing other things. She puts the wrong time.
I don't think I put the original wrong time, but then we changed the reservation,
No.
and then so I had like 3 times down, and I was like, I don't know when it's.
So we tell Sandra about, oh yeah, we have a reservation at 6:30. She goes, really? I thought it was 5. And then they're like, oh my God, when is it? It was 5. But even things like that, because I'll even tell you sometimes, if don't talk to me when I'm in the middle of something, because then I really don't hear. And I thought that was a rule.
How do I know when you're not listening?
Usually when I'm doing something else.
Well, we can't tend to everything at once, I guess.
But no, even things like that is, if it's an important idea or something, you'll say, oh, this is important, or I'll say, this is a really good idea. And then that's the other thing, is slowing it down so that you can actually take time to explore things, or be attentive to and actively listening to those ideas, which are probably really brilliant, but they're not brilliant if I don't hear them. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because people can put it in perspective with the body. The body needs rest every night in order to recover to workforce the next day. And the mind really needs that too. It needs that downtime. And we've talked in the past about, meditation and those kind of things, and just
Vacations.
yes, quieting the mind. And when you do that, it really does create space so that you can have ideas and creativity, and it can all just flow.
Well, and I think when you do that too, you don't feel tired.
Right.
If you're doing something that you love and you're starting to get tired, then it's because there's not enough space and things like that. Same thing, when you're doing, first of the year, everybody's doing their workout programs now, So my client said, I can't go to the gym now. There's 900 new people there who are going to go for 1 week. Get a membership for a week.
Yeah. Wait till next week.
Yeah. Got to wait about 2 weeks, and then I go back and it's going to be clear again. But that's the thing. Even when we do these things, whether, people make New Year's resolutions or whatever they do, the thing is that there's no plan.
Yeah.
There's no reason why. Oh, I want to be thin. Why? Oh, because my friend's thin, or whatever it is.
Because I don't want to breathe really heavy when I'm bending over trying to tie my shoe.
That would be a good why.
Yeah.
I want to do it just one time. No, I think those are the things that we're talking about, is how do we do those things in a way that we're not setting ourselves up to not be successful? How do we mentally prepare for all of these things?
Exactly.
Because it's not, I always tell people, you can sit down and do a business plan, you can do all that, but there's the huge mental piece to it.
It's like preparing every year to do your taxes. It sits there and you're like, it's coming and I've got to get it done.
Let's not talk about procrastination on that, shall we?
Yeah.
But this year we're going to, she says that every year. This year, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Here we are next year, 10, 15, 20 years later. And you know what it is? I think when it's something that we don't like, how we could switch that to gratitude. We will stay stuck in that negativity and that planning and all of that. And if we're doing a task or we're doing something that it's not the most fun part of the business, or, some people might really I really love being a therapist. I don't like all the other BS that comes with it. I don't like the insurance piece of it. I don't like doing any of it. I love that interaction. I love that piece of it. That's what I will focus on. And then when I have to write reports or do stuff like this, or, these people are wanting stuff or these people are wanting stuff, that's not the fun part for me. But then if I sit there and I have that gratitude, but if I write this letter for Social Security or for this, that's going to help somebody out. It switches that thought processes with me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge piece of it. And for me, especially with the tax piece, the proactive part, if you're got everything organized the way you need it up to that point, I hear it's not hard to do. But I have to work on that. So
We will keep you posted.
yeah.
But I think those are the things. Ebb and flow happens. We've talked about several places that ebb and flow happens.
Right.
And the thing is it is life.
Yes.
It is all the stuff. Once again, we're inundated with so much stuff. And I feel like if people could just take a moment and pause and also realize that if something isn't working, don't get rid of the whole thing. It's kind of like if you have a flat tire or something, you don't go get rid of the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's not all
Or nothing. I see that a lot. People are into this all or nothing. Well, it didn't work for me. Or I always tell my clients, and like my one, baby steps. And that's what it is. Each step, no matter how big or small, is still moving in the direction that you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we start to learn to shift that focus to those little movements that are moving us forward, that's all that matters.
Becoming focused on what is working will help you find solutions.
Exactly. And it's and when you have that ebb and flow, and as we all do, and that day you brought it up because you were kind of,
In a dip.
a little dip.
Yeah.
But it didn't last long. And I even told you, usually, it would last longer a long time ago. Now, every time it gets shorter and shorter. But then we started talking about the whys. We started talking about, really solidifying plans and doing things like that.
Well, I think a lot of times too, people don't realize that. And it's interesting that we don't, because what we fuel our body with, sometimes that impacts our mood. And, maybe it's not, you wake up that morning and nothing has gone on to set you in a bad mood or anything like that. But what did you have to eat the day before? I think that does play a role in mood a lot of times.
100%. And I don't think that we don't view food as fuel,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm having a bad day and what I eat is ice cream, that's not necessarily fuel for my body. It might be fuel for my mood, but however, it'll bring you up and it'll bring you down.
Yeah, you're going to have a crash after that anyway from the sugar.
So sometimes when we wake up feeling tired. Sometimes if we don't get a good night's sleep, sometimes if we dream too much at the night, we already wake up. But instead of trying to identify what's going on, we'll be in that mood and then we'll be there. And then we focus on the mood.
Yeah, and trying to, figure out all the things that you feel like are wrong in your life. I don't know, but I think
It
that
must have been something that happened to me when I was 5. No.
something triggered me.
But I think that's what it is. It's realizing that that's that ebb and flow. Sometimes it might be, there's all of these things. And once again, showing yourself a little bit of grace and saying, it's okay if I'm having this moment, but let it be a moment.
Right.
And then how do I move past that moment?
Mm-hmm. And realizing that, this too shall pass. This mood is not going to stay here. And then, like I said, I mean, you don't know. It could be something with your diet that you're not getting enough, of or whatever. And it makes a difference.
There are so many things, variables that we can't account for. And when we sit and we try to do that, then we stay stuck because now, I'm starting where and I'm looking at what. And you go down the rabbit hole.
Exactly.
And then that keeps you there. So I guess overall understanding we're going to ebb and flow and it's okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. Showing ourselves a little bit of grace when we do it. Realizing that we have to go back and remember, why do I do what I'm doing? What is the value of it for me?
Yeah.
And
when you're having those moments, just recognize it and then realize that you can let it go.
I think the other really key thing here too is that when we're looking at the why, because some people say, well, I want to have lots of money. And so, and you ask, why do you want to have lots of money? Well, because people who have lots of money are happy. Sometimes you really have to evaluate that, but it might be, and I love how when she talks about, in Yo Quiero Dinero, when she talks about why she wanted to change. It wasn't about money. It was about flexibility. And a lot of times we get confused by that. People think they want money, but not what they really want is they want that money provides them the luxury of flexibility of whatever that is. So you have to be able to break that down even more.
Mhm.
I want money because money makes people happy. Well, no, money doesn't make people happy. What it does is it affords you to do the things that bring joy to your life.
It's a tool.
Exactly. So being more clear
Yes.
is really important. Being more clear is really important. I wanted to be in private practice because I wanted to set my hours.
Exactly.
I know that's, if I don't want to work this day, I don't work this day. We've now worked now I work 3 days a week. I'm happy with that
Mhm.
because that affords me time to do the other stuff that I like, which is the podcasting and other things. And we have a whole bunch of other things that are sitting there waiting to come into fruition.
Yep.
But, once again, the ebb and flow, we're going to have it. It's normal. It's natural. We don't have to. But once again, how do we remind ourselves baby steps? How do we look at the frequency, the duration, and the intensity of things? Is it getting better? Shorter time periods, all of those things. Then we know we have forward motion. Procrastination is really not our friend, no matter how much we try to convince ourselves that it is.
It's just excuses.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to do what I need to do or whatever, or I'd rather be doing something else. We just, being real about it and acknowledging that I think is what's really important.
Yeah, acknowledging that, letting it go, and refocusing to the why.
And slowing down.
Yeah.
Slow down all the chatter. Write stuff down. Be able to go back and look at it. All of those things that are important to being successful. But you have to look at success is not just what's on paper. It is in our mind and what it brings to us. It is so much more than that. And we have to be able to address and identify those things that are getting in our way, I think.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it's ourself.
Yes, which is often what it is.
Yes.
It really is. We're our worst enemies half the time, people. We really are. So, just, maybe some food for thought for the new year if you're on a venture and stuff like that. And whether it's a business, way, friendships, or whatever it is,
But it's all ongoing practice. So we're going to add and we're going to flow, and it's going to be all good.
It's all good in the end. And, as always, we are so grateful for everybody who tunes in.
Yes. Thank you so much. And you can find us on twogirlsinapod.com. We are also on any listening platform that you get your podcasts from. Please listen, subscribe, share. That just helps us out. We appreciate it.
And we are also on YouTube, Adventures of Two Girls
in a Pod Life's Journey.
You can check us out there too. We really greatly appreciate it. And, like I said,
go check out our videos on there. Sharon's got a mixology video if you're into that.
And I'm going to do more because I'm going to make the margarita the way I like it. Not that other people don't make it good. But anyway, yeah, check it out. We appreciate it. And thank you so much. And we will be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.